it's really important that we begin to change the mindset of young people to know that your vote counts.
They don't understand that the legislative arm of government is actually a co-equal arm of government.
We have an incredible amount of potential.
Whatever it is I was doing, because of my personal DNA, it had to be of an international standard, which is what, seriously speaking, is all about.
Hello there. I have over the months been curious, just like every other Nigerian, to understand the fiasco that has gone on in the House of Representatives in the last 1 year or so. From division amongst party members to the election of the current speaker, and in recent times, the budget padding. One man has remained in the eye of the storm. One man who's chosen to speak, to seriously speaking, to tell his side of the truth in the happenings, believing that he owes Nigerians the truth. He's spoken to a lot of people, but this time he's speaking exclusively to, seriously speaking, his Honorable Abdulmumin Jibrin. And for that and many other reasons, seriously speaking was online, live in Abuja, just before he left the country. Welcome to Seriously Speaking.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Right, it's nice to see you. You know, the first time I saw you, we were talking about marriage, happiness, everything. And if you remember, I said you are the kind of politician I would like to see in bigger positions. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, absolutely.
I remember that. And what got me was the fact that you seemed so passionate about Nigeria, right? Then what's this I hear? I've heard you speak on different occasions about what's happening in the House. And the first question I would like to ask you is, why did it take you so long to speak? You've been in the House your second time. You represent Baby. Yes, and you've been there. They sent you there the first time, you went there the second time. You were chairman of House, the appropriation bill, twice over, and suddenly you realize that things are not good anymore. Why did it take you so long?
Well, it didn't take me this long. As a matter of fact, I have said it repeatedly that the people who own up to such opinion are not being fair to me because I've always been very outspoken in the House. In the last 5 years that I've spent in the House of Representatives, I don't think there is any week or 2 weeks interval that you will not hear Honorable Jibrin on air discussing specifically issues that have to do with my mandate as a member of the House of Representatives or my role and responsibility as chairman of House Committee on Finance and later House Committee on Appropriations. In the past, I've raised a lot of issues, most of the issues affecting the economy that today we're dealing with. I have dealt with these issues in the past, talking about the instability of our external reserve, the large size of our current expenditure, the volume of our borrowing, the exit plan for domestic borrowing, which is more harmful to the economy, the very bulky size of our cash call, which is production cost, all these issues. Just take a moment and Google it. You will see I have been talking. Then again, one pattern that I have had in the last 5 years, very often, and unlike what I see these days, that a member or a chairman of a committee goes and fuse himself on a minister. I've always engaged my ministers. I've engaged Dizeni, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Of course, we are very good friends now. Throughout my 4 years, we've been having confrontation over issues that have to do with the economy. Even though now I admit that some of the issues that I argue with her then, anyway, we're not here to discuss that. She eventually, I think she's right in some of the issues then. But again, I have been in the forefront of all these discussions. Then again, talking about the Parliament, House of Representatives, the need to open up the system, what we need to do to make the House more acceptable to Nigerians, for Nigerians to trust the House. I have spoken extensively on all these issues. It's just that because Nigerians don't take time to research. It's there in records. Then the most latest one was when I contested for the speakership of the House of Representatives. Why don't people just go and research and see what I said that I was going to do? I practically opened up all these issues that I'm discussing during my campaign, my declaration speech. I raised all of these issues and the kind of reforms that I expect to see in the House or I was going to implement in the House of Representatives. The only difference is that we didn't have a crisis situation that warrants me to decide to leave my position and continue to talk. So you will say in the last 5 years, I've been talking, but from within. But now, maybe why it is a bit, people find it a bit strange is because I am talking from outside and against the background of what
is on ground.
What is on ground.
Interesting. But one thing I would like to do, because I also have a little bit of background knowledge of the kind of person that you are. I thought you were one of the very prepared politicians that I have met in terms of the kind of education you choose to give to yourself. You've gone to Harvard, you did an Oxford degree, and all of those things, right? At what point, as a child, did you know that you were going to go into public service? Your father is a military man.
Yes. My father was a military officer, and that is why I tell people, probably that's where I got my courage. My dad was a very courageous man. His own dad, and of course, my great-grandparents were businessmen, were traders, and my paternal family, until date, the chunk of them remain traders. From my own great-grandfather, my grandfather was an agent of John Holt, and of course, he was trading with Europeans, particularly, specifically Beniseed, cotton, granite, etc. And of course, alongside the parents of a couple of very prominent Nigerians, for instance.
Politics was a done deal for you? As a kid, did you know?
Well, I was trying to just give you the background so that you get to where I'm coming from. Really, I have always wanted, and I have been lucky to be in a leadership position all my life, right from when I was a kid. I was a people person and rest.
Even though you're not
so
the
as
first
a kid, yes. So as a kid, probably I wouldn't have really get the picture of where I am headed to. But as soon as I became a teenager, I knew that I was tilted towards that direction. And I'm sure at some point in this conversation, I'll give you the interesting twists and where I had to defy every odd to actually make certain decisions. Yes.
So I'll take a break at this point in time, because I must take a break. And then when I return, I would like to talk about how it was said, you said it, how you helped to create, for the emergence of the new leadership in the House, or the current leadership in the House. We'll take a break and we'll continue our conversations with Abdulmumin Jibrin. To me, Abdul. Is that okay?
Yes.
We'll be back. Yes, I'm still here speaking with Abdul. Before I took a break, I told my viewers that you were one of those, at least you even wanted to express intention of being the Speaker of the House. And you were one of those that plied behind the current leadership in the House. And then what happened? Where was the disconnect?
Well, I came into the House, young, and I saw the structure of the House, how they have works and everything and the rest, and I've always had that plan at the back of my mind and praying to God that we should also get to a point where we will be able to have some level of influence over the leadership of the House so that we can push forward our vision.
When you say we?
For the House of Representatives. When I say we, I mean like-minded people who also believe that the House is operating below capacity, people who also understand the fact and stop pretending that a chunk of people who are elected into the House of Representatives lack the capacity. And so we have to make up for the weaker links and whatsoever you have and the rest. In any case, that's a general problem of the society, because society should take responsibility for electing people who, in the first place, shouldn't be in the House of Representative. That was what was at the back of my mind. So, and to make matter worse, I'm a very independent-minded person. So I wasn't swayed by political inclination, ethnic inclination, because of my background.
Or religious
coming
inclination,
from
for that
religious
matter.
inclination, coming from a military background. I grew up, our neighbors were from the Niger Delta, so some of them come to the National Assembly today to hear the name Priye. I grew up in primary school, our neighbors, Captain Clement Umomokumo, is from Bayelsa. His kids, Abi, Timmy, Priye, all these are names that I knew right from a kid, and that is why I have this multicultural approach to life. And so I look at things independently, and with few people we say, look, let's try to assert our independence and elect somebody we believe can get things done. Femi is my friend, so I've related very
That's
close.
Honorable Bajabi Amina.
Yeah, or should I say was my friend? Because we've not been on good terms. On a serious note, since after the election, that's to tell you how much I put at stake for us to get Dogara there. And I've had this conversation severally with Femi, and I said, look, I like you. You are a reservoir of knowledge when it comes to parliamentary procedures and everything and the rest. Nobody is saying you cannot be a good speaker, but one very important characteristics of a speaker is a stable temperament. I'm not saying Femi does not have a stable temperament, but Dogara score higher. But another thing that attracted us to Dogara then is that because we're searching, who should we support? This is a guy, a lawyer, very unassuming, very humble, in the house, yes. And I don't like saying a Christian, a man of God, of which, of course, now I know that it's just a bunch of deceit.
That's what you say. That's what you
That's what I say. It's just a bunch of deceit. And I know that very, very well. That's a bunch of deceit. So we all fell for that. Now, ordinarily, because of even his the inclinations, etc., I will say, that's why I say people should now look at me for somebody who is believed to be a man of God, a pastor within the house system, was somebody that I supported because of how open-minded I am. And one thing I try to make people understand is that they said, okay, he appointed you chairman appropriation. I would have still been appointed chairman appropriation
because you were before.
If Femi had emerged. Whatever I wanted, I would have still gotten it.
Why?
Ask them. Well, it's difficult to say why, because you sound a bit boisterous and the rest. But I think coming into the house, I was given the privilege to be chairman of finance. And for chairman appropriation, usually they do not just bring anybody to be chairman appropriations. You must have a bit of a pedigree. And because of the volume at which members come and go, unfortunately, in the entire National Assembly today, just only myself and Senator John Enong has that category E experience in appropriation matters. John Enong was chairman of finance in the House, then later on appropriation. I was chairman finance, and I was headed towards appropriation. So it's just a succession from perhaps the number 2 most influential position to number 1 most influential position in the House, if it is being looked from that angle. So we are right around Dogara. Now, the mistake was that it was an error of judgment. And people will say, how could you have done that after all the experiences you've gotten in life? You continue to make these mistakes. That's why somebody could be president once, twice, come back again. He makes the same mistakes. He leaves government, and he says, I still have certain mistakes that I have made. In the case of Dogara, it's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life. It was an error of judgment. We misinterpreted his personality type. We failed to actually project that, oh, this man might change, or he is not what he is telling people that he is. I sound a bit going personal. I feel a bit reluctant.
I was just going to stop you because is this about Dogara or about the house?
It's, the Dogara is a speaker. So I'm just trying to tell you what we saw in him that made us support him against the wish of our party, against a lot of elders that called me from Kano and said, look, this is what you're supposed to do. Against my governor, who actually supported the party's position, and that you can understand, and spoke to me directly that, look, do the bidding of the party. Against Governor Kankoso, who was just leaving as the governor of Kano State then, and the senator, they were all mobilizing to support the party's position. We defied the party because we were sure of what we were doing. Very few of us actually executed that. Now, we had an agenda. So it's not that we just did it just for that.
I must take a break. And mostly because, you see, we're having so much fun. I want to put you in suspense. You want to hear the rest of the story? You've got to tune in next week. You sit down and we'll finish the conversation? You sit down and we'll finish the conversation?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jibrin. I'm glad that you're doing this, and I know Nigerians are going to take something away from this, but we must go. I round up just for me to say, tune in same time next week for the concluding part of my conversation with Honorable, at least for now, Abdulmumin Jibrin. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.